I am an 8-year breast cancer survivor. I was diagnosed in 2005 when I was 25 years old with cystosarcoma phylloides. It's a super rare breast cancer lump or tumor.
The way I was diagnosed, and I'll never forget, it was a late Thursday night. I was watching a movie by myself. I put the kids to sleep and I was so exhausted. Being an esthetician, you do a lot of facials and you move and you know, so you have a lot of upper body. And I laid back on the couch and there was a movie and they were talking about prostate cancer, and I heard the word cancer. I'm like, oh, I haven't given myself an exam. And so I put my hand right on my chest, and I never was a religious person, but I swear that God put His hand on mine and told me exactly where to feel it, because there was this huge knot and my heart sank and I started to panic. And I know I'm a worrier, but I had this gut feeling.
I found my tumor while I was on vacation. It was a Monday. I'm putting on a swimsuit. I'm pulling it up and went, oh, what's that? That doesn't seem right. And honestly knew immediately that it was a tumor. I'm sure I was in self-denial, hoping that it wasn't, but it was already about the size of a jawbreaker, at least by feel. And so I was pretty certain that I was in trouble.
My husband and I left the office. We didn't say anything to each other. We'd just been married just a little over a year, so I was terrified. I didn't know, you know. I knew he loved me, but I didn't know if he was prepared to go through that. And we had a lot of decisions to make, and quickly.
As I discovered the lump, my biggest fear was, before I even knew and before I even had a biopsy, is that I just was scared that I was going to die.
And all I thought about was my little kids. My son was only a year old at the time. I had just had my baby. My daughter was 7. Who's going to take care of them? Who's going to raise them? Who's going to walk your kid down the aisle? I didn't want to miss out on all of that, and it was all those things that just kept on rushing through my head.
What am I about to go into? How sick am I going to be? Will I be able to work? Will I be able to take care of myself? Because I'm a widow and living alone, there was that fear of, will I be able to take care of myself, and what am I going to do?
The Rose diagnosed me, and they gave me an ultrasound, and it confirmed I had cancer. And then I had to do a biopsy, and they did the biopsy, and then they referred me to a navigator. And the navigator helped me because I didn't have insurance, and they had me apply for Medicaid for breast and cervical cancer, and I was approved, and they sent me straight to MD Anderson, and from there everything worked real fast.
I had a lumpectomy. Well, I felt the lump myself, and then I went and had my mammogram. I had very good care that day, and for which I will always be grateful for. The technician was so nice to me and really understanding. I went on to verify it with a lumpectomy, and then I had a mastectomy 7 days later, just because the cancer had spread to the margins.
I had started going to Dr. Melillo at the age of 35 for just the lumps that ended up being nothing, but then I had the lump that was something, and I always had gone to the Rose for my exams, my mammogram and my ultrasound, and she did the mammogram, ultrasound, and biopsy March 18th, 2010.
So when they first found the lump, I went through the Rose to get further testing. I was working, but I didn't have any insurance. And so the Rose was so helpful to me about giving me programs that I could do, places that I needed to go, information that I needed, some further testing to be positive of what I had. And they helped me get into a program with MD Anderson. MD Anderson and them had a program for women who didn't have any insurance.
They literally saved my life. And so the Rose has been in my life ever since. I get my mammograms at the Rose.
And they got me into MD Anderson. I got a fantastic team, and I'm sitting here telling you all of this. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here if I had listened to the first doctor that told me it was nothing. I wouldn't be here if I didn't come into the Rose. If Mom hadn't discovered the Rose years before, we wouldn't be here. And I wouldn't be able to share my story and tell people, hey, if you don't have insurance, or even if you have insurance and you don't have the money for it, or if you can't get into this doctor, go to the Rose, because that's all they do.
I think they're a wonderful organization. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. They helped me through the worst part, a lot of the fears at the worst part. I've talked to several ladies and told them, you need to go to the Rose. You need to go. They're wonderful. They will help you. You know, if you don't know another resource, go to the Rose.